Assalamu alaikum. So we are back again with our monthly session series, and today our topic is mastering effective prompting for lesson planning and Bloom's taxonomy. And to conduct this, we have Miss Nida Hassan. Let me just give you a brief introduction of Miss Nida. So Miss Nida's career in education spans over 15 years. She serves as Cambridge teacher trainer in sociology and global perspectives. She is also a Global Perspectives Chair at Learning Tree School and the Program Leader for the Cambridge International Certificate in Teaching and Learning. With with experience teaching IGCSE, GCSE subjects and mentoring educators, she fosters critical thinking and inclusive environments. So over to you, Ms. Nida. You may start your session now.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you so much, Ms. Farheen, for that wonderful introduction. So, everyone, I'm going to just be sharing my screen so that you all can see the little presentation that I have made on effective prompting. Okay. Sure, connect to video. So effective AI prompting and Bloom taxonomy for lessons. Now, what you will take from this lesson is that, first of all, I'm going to deepen your understanding of Bloom and how to then use ChatGPT for lesson planning, and then the prompt pattern that we should follow. If we are to understand, so this is my little introduction that I was going to do myself, but Ms. Farheen has been kind enough to do that. So we'll just move on. What is Bloom taxonomy? If anyone has an understanding of it, you'll know that Bloom is an hierarchical model that came into existence in the 1800s. And since then, there has been a lot of change that has been done to the model. But basically, the model is a pyramid which starts from low to top. And from the bottom, you look at that when we are working with students, the first thing that we would want them to do is remember something. अगर हम कुछ भी पढ़ा रहे हैं, so our first objective is that they should remember what we're talking about, followed by an understanding of what the concept is, later to applying the concept, then moving on to analyzing, evaluating, and then using that concept to create something new. At the lower end, there is the remembering, understanding, and applying. And then as we move on, analyzing, evaluating, and creating is on the higher end. So lower ends के जो तीन होते हैं, उनको they're often referred to also as lots. And on the higher end, they're often referred to as HOTS. So as a teacher, our purpose that Bloom came up with is that when we are teaching, we want to make sure that we move our student from the remembering part to the creating. So we move step by step from lots to HOTS, starting with trying to remember, then to understand, then to apply, analyze, evaluate, and finally to create something from that understanding. Now that we have a brief understanding of the Bloom taxonomy, I want to understand is how we are all using AI. What happens with AI is everyone is very, very familiar with ChatGPT. We are using it all the time. As teachers, we are very, all the time trying to find out information. We know our students are using it all the time. They're doing their homework with it. They are using it to, make sure that they can bypass the teacher or Sara ka Sara homework ChatGPT pe karke. आपको देते हैं. The older the children, the more AI they are using. And majority of us are very comfortable with ChatGPT when it comes to AI. And then we move on to other AI models like Grok है, Gemini है, Claude hai. Different models are being used by different teachers. So when I was initially using AI, I would use AI just for basic things like tell me this, tell me that, if I didn't remember something, or just maybe sometimes, majority of the times, to answer emails. And that is what my extent of using AI was. But recently, I have been using AI now to do a lot of planning for me. And I've realized that AI can effectively do 80% of the planning, and then 20% of it I can put my human element, my skills, my experience to tailor it according to the needs of my students. In no way is AI replacing the teachers, and no way can AI ever replace the teachers. The teachers have a very, very important part in the students' life, in developing their skills, in analyzing what they are able to understand, remember, and then, of course, evaluate and create according to the Bloom taxonomy. But as teachers, we end up spending a lot of time in planning. हमारा जो है ना, every week you can say about 2 to 3 hours maybe go into planning. At least that's the minimum. That also, if you're an experienced teacher, if you are someone who is new, who has just started, you end up spending a lot more time in the planning process, because the more you plan, the more you are sure about how good your class would be. But if we are able to free that time, if you're able to use that time effectively in the classroom, because time is limited and time is one resource that is somehow, as teachers, we just are always running कि time nahi hai, checking करनी है, planning करनी है, ये करना है, वो करना है. So we are always restricted by the time that we have. So if we are able to save our time, not use, sorry, save our time through the planning process, we can make that time and use that time effectively in the classroom. When I say we save that time, as teachers, if we are more relaxed, we are more, less burdened with work, the better teachers we are. Because, of course, we are also human beings. We need time to relax. We need time to make sure that we are present mind when we go into the classroom. If we are burdened constantly with checking भी करनी है, planning भी करनी है, assessments भी आ रहे हैं, tests भी आ रहा है, meeting भी है, professional development भी attend करनी है, the more that we are burdened with, that burden works with us inside the classroom. So I found that I can use AI effectively to help me reduce my planning time, not to replace me as a teacher, but just to reduce my planning time. Now, what are the main parts when we are doing planning? The main parts that we do need in a lesson plan is that, first of all, there should be objectives, very clear objectives of what the lesson will be about. Lesson is generally about 45 minutes, 50 minutes, depending on your school. Then you need to make sure that you are aware of the material and the resources that you need. Do you need certain printouts? You need books, you need copies. You need, अगर आप model development कर रहे हैं तो वो model के resources हों. If you're going to be doing, if you're a science teacher and you're going to be doing science experimentation, तो उसकी सारी instruments हो. Then you need to have a main introduction that will hook the children into the class, that will make them excited about learning what are we going to learn today. This all happens within the first 10 minutes of a class. And then you can say the next 20-25 minutes are in the main instructional activities. कि क्या आप पढ़ा रहे हैं, if it's a new concept or if you're doing an extension to a concept, what it is that you're going to do today. And then you can check if your classroom is a differentiated classroom, inclusive classroom. Based on that, you can give your prompts, uh, how you're going to do that. Are you going to have different worksheets, depending on how you do your classroom? Now, assessment and check for understanding is extremely important at all parts. So, even in the beginning, when you are doing an introduction of what we're going to do today, you have to do a check for understanding. You have to check with the students about their prior learning, that what we did in the class yesterday or last week, do you remember that? Only if they remember that are we able to build on the task ahead and then introduce them to the main activity. So this check for understanding happens constantly. And this check for understanding can also happen in different ways. Sometimes it's just simple questioning that you do. And sometimes it's written work, and sometimes it is the students coming on the board. Sometimes it's peer checking, sometimes it's just the teacher walking around the classroom and checking, do the children understand or not? And then in the end of every class, you do a feedback and a close to understand whatever we have taught in the class today, did they really understand that? Will you be able to move on in the next class or not? Now, these are the basic elements that are there in a lesson plan. Now, how can we use AI to do our lesson planning according to Bloom's? Now, why is Bloom again important? If you look at this over here, if we go back to this, Bloom has all these levels. So, depending on what your lesson plan's goal is the goal to make sure that the students remember or the students are understanding the concept and applying it? Is it all three of them, which is at the lower end with the lots, or is it on the upper end, analyzing, evaluating, and creating? So you can then use AI to make a lesson plan that uses Bloom's taxonomy and has questioning built into your lesson plan, which will allow that assessment happens in a very, very systematic manner. So how would that look like? Now, AI, if you know that ChatGPT is only as good as the prompts. So what I ask ChatGPT has to be very, very specific. If I start asking ChatGPT, make me a lesson plan, there are no specifics in that. So ChatGPT is going to end up making you nothing good. It's just going to be the same concept that is garbage in, resulting in garbage out. This is so what we need to do is that we need to train ChatGPT. We have to train our prompts. We have to give prompts that are so specific that it results in creating a lesson plan for us, which is specific then to our needs. What do I mean by that? Sorry. Sorry. What I mean is that we are going to give the prompts which are specific to our grade. Which grade am I teaching? Am I teaching grade 5, 6, 9, 10? Which subject am I teaching? Do I teach science, maths? The topic, what is the topic of discussion that is going to be today? The duration, is my lesson going to be 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 45 minutes? What are my student needs and what are the standards that I need my students to meet? You will also be very specific with the AI and ask for sections, give it structure that I want first objectives, then I would like an activity. Then you tell AI to align it with Bloom taxonomy. And that is include verbs like remember, understand, Do I want it to be on the lower end, or do I want it to be higher end? Do I want the students to analyze, evaluate, create? And the one thing that is amazing is that you can ask AI, which is ChatGPT, to give it your lesson plan a cultural context. So you can say, okay, I want you to give examples which are specific to Pakistan. You can even be as specific as give examples which are specific to certain communities in Pakistan, the Sindhi culture, the Punjabi culture. So these specifics are what make the prompt give you a lesson plan which is specific, which will allow you to tailor then the plan according to your needs. For example, what would the prompt look like? The prompt would look like, you will write this in your chat GP, that act as an expert, Pakistani secondary teacher. So you are setting a persona, which is that I am a secondary Pakistani teacher. I want basically to create a 45-minute lesson plan for grade 9 biology. So I have given it the time, I have given it the subject, and I'm giving it the topic on photosynthesis. And I'm saying it what that it needs to be aligned with IGCSE Cambridge. So you can even give your subject code, whichever code that you're following, whether it's the GCSE, IGCSE, if you're following AQA, whichever board that you are following, you can set that, and that gives it the standard and it knows which one it needs to follow. Then you can say that you want to use the Bloom taxonomy, include at least two HOTS objectives. So HOTS are the higher end, which is analyze, evaluate, or you can say the LOTS, which is the lower end. When we are introducing a topic or we are introducing a content which is new, we would always start with the lots, which is the lower end. But if we are closing the topic and we want to evaluate the students and their knowledge, then we would always use the HOTS objective. And then we would go on to talk about the fact that I want culturally relevant examples which are specific to the Pakistani community, like local plants like mango trees. Now, with a do now, a group main activity, and an exit slip. A do now, if you think, if I need to clarify, is something that would hook the students right at the beginning. The group main activity would be the main part, the chunk, which would be 25-30 minutes, where the children are learning the concept, and exit slip is for the feedback. So I'm going to exit my screen and I'm going to go on to look at what it looks like in ChatGPT if we were actually going to give this prompt. So this is my chatbot. You all can see the screen. And this is exactly the same prompt that I have given it on my chat GPT. Act as an expert teacher, 40-minute lesson plan for aligned with IGCSE, using Bloom taxonomy, include at least two HOTS objective, culturally relevant example, local plants like mango trees with a do now, group main activity, and exit slip. And I'm just going to press enter. Now, ChatGPT, as you can see, is working on this, and we can, well, before I could even say time it, it has given me a lesson plan. So you can see now how fast it has generated a lesson plan for you. So if we keep on looking at this, now look at the lesson plan. Lesson with photosynthesis, what, where, and why it matters, grade 9, aligned, duration 45 minutes, curriculum link, IGCSE biology, nutrition, photosynthesis. It's talking about chloroplast, balanced equation, factors affecting great importance to ecosystem and agriculture. The learning objectives are matched with Bloom. taxonomy. So first they are doing, now what it has done is over here, ChatGPT has, even though my prompt said only 2, it's taken all the Bloom K levels and it has put the objective next to it. So remembering, recall the word and symbol equation for photosynthesis. So this is with remember, understanding, explain the role of chloroplying, analyze, evaluating, creating. Then it's saying that these are the materials that I will need. The lesson sequence now, look at this, do now, and it's giving me exactly how I should structure my plan. My classroom, it was from the first 5 minutes, I'm going to talk about the task, and individual on a sticky note or in a notebook, write the word equation for photosynthesis and list 2 local plants that depend on it. Even what is the task that I need to do? And it's explaining me the purpose. So when I make the students do this, and it will give formative check. Then quick input, you can take about 7 minutes and the teacher can then look at what is the children, how are they understanding it? Do they remember? Do they not remember? So you have this brief prior knowledge check happening because this will help you to move on to your main activity. Now, because you had said that your class is over here in our prompt, that's 45 minutes. So it's taken the first 5 minutes to set the objectives. The second 7 minutes are there to check the prior knowledge. And then the main thing, which is the 22 minutes, it is giving you how you will do the main activity and take them forward. So if there is something that I do not like about this main activity, I can always give a different prompt. Say, tell ChatGPT that over here, for example, I can tell ChatGPT, I want you to create this lesson plan. Sorry. I want you to create this lesson plan using evaluation skill for my students. So this is where I can make edits and look at how fast it will create a new lesson plan for me with edits that I have suggested. So when you are a teacher, and if we were to create this lesson plan on our own, think about it, create it, it would take us a really, I mean, it takes me quite some time. It's not that easy. Every time I sit down to create a lesson plan, the minimum it takes me is about 45 minutes to an hour, mostly more. But tweaking this lesson plan, every time I've tried to tweak a lesson plan, it takes me about 10 to 15 minutes, and that saves me a lot of time trying to do this activity. So this prompt, if we come back here, so this is what is important, that, that you make sure that when prompting your that you are specific. Once again, please remember, garbage in will result in garbage out. So the more specific your prompt is to the AI, the more specific the lesson plan will be. And your AI is also learning from you. It's learning what your personality is. It's learning how you teach. It's learning what you like doing. So every time I give my AI an edit, it is able to understand what kind of a teacher personality I have. Do I like doing more written work? Do I like talking more? Do I like more active learning? Do I like, letting the students create something from the concept? what it is. And once the AI is learning, it is able to tailor those lesson plans according to your personality. So if I go through this again, you need to be specific. You need to prompt AI, give it the grade level, the subject, the topic, the duration, what are the student needs, and what are the standards that you would like to be met. You ask for sections, which is that there should be objectives, there should be activities. Bloom taxonomy is a very, very good way of checking for doing assessments throughout the process. And then cultural relevance. If we go back, sorry, we look at that, my screen. I'm just finding my screen. Where is my chat GPT?
We can see your slide.
You can see my slide. I'm trying to find where my chat GPT went, where I had made that. I think I've closed it accidentally. So you can have a look at the chat GPT every time you will create this prompt, you will give this prompt, you will be able to see that they will start talking about local relevance, local um, examples. So another thing that I found was that when we talk only about examples that are not culturally relevant, it is difficult for the children to relate and to have a deeper understanding of the topic. The moment we are able to relate anything to our cultural relevance, it creates this connection. I'll give you an example. In fact, yesterday when I was teaching my students, GP students, how do we do evaluation, the skill of evaluation, and it's a very difficult skill to help them understand, and they were just not getting it. So the simple thing that we did was that I asked them, आपको कौन सी बिरयानी सबसे पसंद है? You know, Karachi में there are so many restaurants with so many biryani places. So which one is your favorite biryani place? And of course, I got different answers. And someone said student biryani, someone said Indus biryani, someone said, Jeddah biryani. And I was like, but why do you like it? How have you decided that the Jeddah ki biryani is the best biryani? And they're like, क्योंकि वो आलू देते हैं. So I'm like, okay, वो आलू देते हैं. किसी ने बोला क्योंकि वो रायता भी देते हैं, और तीसरे ने बोला उसमें तेल कम होता है. So this is what it is. As soon as we started talking about the biryani, they were able to evaluate which biryani is their favorite biryani. But when we were talking about something completely which was source related, कि climate change में evaluation कैसे करनी है, they were all lost. They were completely lost. But when we started evaluating the biryani, they could completely relate to it. And by the end of it, I said, you need to do exactly the same thing that you're doing with the biryani, कि एक में आलू है और रायता है, आप वही climate change पे apply करें. And it was like this light bulb moment that happened for them. They were like, oh, this is what we need to do. Yes, this is what evaluation is. So simple things like this, as soon as concepts become culturally relevant, you are able to apply them to the children's understanding, to what they do, what they like, what they are able to relate to. At that point is where the connection happens and they get the concept. So, and for this, it becomes very important that we also know what our students relate to. So we cannot be living in our own world and thinking about, okay, I was talking to my children about, the simple game. We used to go to the beach and play Coco. And they were like, what is Coco? They have no idea what Coco is. But when I did speak to them about, I said, okay, when you go to the beach, what do you play? And they're like, tag. We play tag. And I'm like, okay, so let's see how can we apply tag into my in our context and understand the meaning of evaluation when we are tagging or analysis with what they are doing. So as teachers, for us to give examples which are culturally relevant, we also need to understand what our students are, what they like, what they are talking about, what their jargon is. For example, the new Gen Alpha that is coming up, they talk in a language which honestly is goes above my head. I don't get it. I am having a lot of issues. So trying to understand. And at this time, this is when I ask my children, I'm like, okay, you need to focus, and I was telling them, you need to focus on what you're doing. And they said, Miss, that's not what you say. You have to say lock in. You have to lock in. And I was like, okay. And now when I go into class and I'm say class lock in, and they just look at me, they smile, and they understand what I'm trying to say. So as teachers, many times we need to be aware of our students, what they talk, what they do, their activities, to become culturally relevant to what is happening around. Okay, so if we move on to the next slide. So now I would like you all to try out yourself what if you were to give a prompt to Chat GPT, which is specific to your subject, specific to your um, environment, your students, the number of, the number of periods you have, the class that you have, how long your class is, the number of students you have, what it is. And then if you could just give me a feedback on, does it look like a lesson plan that you could work with? A thumbs up would be great. So I can give you about 2 minutes, because it took less than 5 seconds for that lesson plan to generate. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this up again. So you can then tell your Chat GPT to act as an expert, whether Pakistani secondary teacher, primary teacher. You can say create a 40-minute, 45-minute lesson plan for whichever grade you teach, whichever subject you teach, and whichever topic you would like to put in. So Ms. Fareen will give the participants about 2 minutes.
Yes. Would you like to receive their responses using the chat box, or would you like them?
I would like them to just give me a thumbs up if they think it is useful. And if they have responses, then we can go through the chat box also. And then we can talk about things if there is anything specific that comes up. Okay, I've got one thumbs up. So thank you, Ali.
Two thumbs up. And I think there was also one more, but it didn't stay for a longer time.
So when we look at the Chat GPT and we give Chat GPT, the power to do the drafting and the planning, please understand, in no way is Chat GPT replacing you. Your personal touch, who you are as a teacher, and how you bring your personality to the classroom is very important. So you also have to let Chat GPT learn about your persona, your personality, and Chat GPT will do 80% of the work. But that 20%, which is the most important 20%, is what you will have to do. So, where it will save you on hours of work, it doesn't mean that there is no work. You cannot just walk into the classroom and start giving ChatGPT the prompt there and then 5 minutes before you walk in. You still have to spend about some time looking at what ChatGPT has created, what it is that um, usable in your environment, because at times we do not have all the resources that ChatGPT may say, okay, do this activity or show this video, and you can't show the video because the internet is down or the TV is not working, or for you don't have the TV or that resource available with you. So how are we going to do that? So we need to make sure that it is tailored according to our environment, to the needs of our students, and that can only be done, excuse me, by you. You cannot get, you cannot let ChatGPT do 100% of the work. It will just do 80% of the work, and that last 20% will be done by you. It will reduce the planning stress through effective prompting and save your energy. And once you have saved that energy, you can use that energy in lesson delivery. A lot of times, what happens is that, and I'm talking from personal experience, I'm so exhausted from the planning and from the meetings and from the checking and from the other school responsibilities, कि when I'm actually in the classroom, I'm not 100% myself. I am thinking about the other 10 things that I need to finish by the end of the day, कि ये checking भी करनी है, marks भी enter करने हैं, ये भी करना है, वो भी करना है, इसको ईमेल करना है, इस बच्चे ने होमवर्क नहीं दिया है, इसका जीरो आ रहा है, तो अब क्या करेंगे, इसके साथ जीरो तो नहीं आ सकता। अब वो इतने सारी चीजें आपके माइंड में चल रही होती हैं उस वक्त कि the lesson itself does not go well, because you're constantly thinking and thinking about the things which just has to be tick boxed. And with all honesty, those are the mundane tasks which take up most of our time, and the time that we should be giving, which is all our energy, our maximum performance, should be in the classroom. And us वक्त we are unable to perform. At least this happens with me when I have been overburdened by the task. So planning then tends to seem very cumbersome. What happened was that I would start using my old planners. I wasn't bringing new things into the classroom, and the children were honestly getting very bored. और वो जब बोर्ड होते हैं तो या तो वो नॉटी हो जाते हैं या वो काम नहीं करते। तो वो जो चार बच्चे हैं वो ही काम कर रहे होते हैं, जो मैं उनको छोड़ भी दूं वो फिर भी काम करेंगे, बिकॉज दे आर सो सेल्फ मोटिवेटेड. It is the other children that I need them to work and to bring new ideas into the classroom. And for that, planning is very important. So if I'm unable to plan an effective lesson plan, then I am unable to deliver it in the classroom with all energy and try new things. And then honestly, I do not give 100% justice. So, where I am able to save time is with the planning, and then I can go into the classroom and deliver it with all my energies. So, if anyone has any feedback, any question regarding this or the use of AI in the classroom, please, the chat box is open. You're most welcome to share that with me. Um, One more thing I would like to add here is that we are also very wary of the fact that most of our students are submitting work which is very chat GPT, या फिर AI use करते हैं बच्चे, whether it's math, whether it's science, English, जो भी काम हो. So homework is to a large extent becoming very redundant. होमवर्क का कोई फायदा जो है, जो पहले होता था, क्योंकि द चिल्ड्रन वर एबल टू अब्सॉर्ब द होमवर्क एंड डू द होमवर्क प्रॉपर्ली, वो अब उस लेवल पे फायदा नहीं है. सो वी नीड टू relook our activities, relook our homework that we give to the children, because they are just regenerating everything that AI is giving them and bringing it to the classroom. उसका जब कोई फायदा ही नहीं है तो वो करवाने का और वो आपको चेक करने का भी कोई फायदा नहीं है, क्योंकि लर्निंग तो हो ही नहीं रही। तो जब लर्निंग ही नहीं हो रही तो आप खामखाई में चेक किए जा रहे हैं, अपनी जिंदगी जो है अजाब में डाले जा रहे हैं। सो द what is important is that we relook the whole homework policy that we have, the amount of homework we send back home, and how we can make sure that the classroom time, which is when the children in front of you, is used most effectively. इसके लिए again planning becomes most important, because if we are unable to plan our classroom activities which are interactive, which make children involved in the activities in the session, then we are unable to get them to learn.
Yes.
Just taking homework is not working out.
Yes, you're very, very right that if you connect with the students and use the classroom time in connecting with me, making relationship with them, a good rapport with them, that also works for our students. And I can vouch for Miss Nida's classes. She's really engaged with the students. Her classrooms are also very engaging, so I can vouch for them. And just as she gave us an example of so many things that they can relate to, actually these things work. As a teacher, we need to change all the old methods and regenerate a few things in order to make our teaching effective. Thank you so much, Nida, for delivering such an engaging and insightful session on Bloom's taxonomy with the use of AI. And I really appreciate the clarity, expertise, and enthusiasm you brought to this session. And I hope that participants have also experienced the same. Yes, so now it's time for the certificate link. And as usual, I'm going to paste the certificate link in the chat box for you to fill in. And, and for new participants, as soon as you will fill the form, your certificate will be emailed to you via inbox. So whoever will miss this link will not be able to get the certificate. So you need to fill this form in order to receive your automated certificate. All right. Thank you, Ms. Nidam. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you, Ms.
everybody.
Farheen. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. I really appreciate this opportunity, Ms. Farheen.
Yeah, always pleasure. Okay. Ramzan Mubarak, everyone, and we'll
Ramadan
be
Mubarak.
yeah. And our next session will be on the 25th of Feb, which will be related to teachers of Urdu. You know, how can teachers emphasize on the importance of Ramadan? So you will be soon up viewing the flyer, which will be posted after this session. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. Allah Hafiz. Thank you,
Yes.
Mr. Allah Hafiz.